I had to turn this off for a bit. Back in here.
There's Rachel now.
Perfect. And they'll give it away.
We call the meeting to order.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Jody Eubank,
Yes.
Matt Bugera,
Yes.
Amy Gillard is absent, Nikki Law is absent, Cora is absent, Rocky Baydoun,
Here.
Rachel Morford, Sarah Ephelrunner, here, Gail Brown,
Here.
and Ella Ruddy. Here. Have a quorum.
Has anyone or everyone had a chance to read the meeting minutes? Motion to approve is accepted. Motion to accept as approved. Motion to, oh my gosh. What is it? Thank you. Second,
Second, I'll second.
thanks. Anyone opposed? Public comment. Hi, guys.
I'm leaving, but I just want to check in and see if you guys have anything.
Oh, I have a whole list. No, I'm just kidding.
We're working on parking, that's on our radar as far as what we're gonna do this summer. And the city's budgeted for us to buy, some type of mechanism to monitor better on our phones, so, but that's where we're at. Other than that, don't have anything.
Cool.
Anybody have any? All right, sorry, I gotta head to the top of Lansing. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thanks. Oh.
John?
No comment.
Anyone from? Anyone on Zoom?
Any comment?
Kathy Brightner?
She's the only one.
No, thank you. Buenos dias, everyone.
Thanks for zooming in.
Promotions.
Okay, so, the promotions committee is going to be meeting to discuss some promotional ideas as we move forward into the tourist season. And we've kind of been quiet after Ice Fest, but I think it'll be time for the committee to meet again and look at how we help assist some of the events that are going to be happening this summer, and also just come up with some ideas if we're, as far as anything that we want to implement. I have been working with the, talking to the Harbor Springs Historical Society. You know, in our long range development plan, we talked about doing a historical walking tour, and they are already doing something like that, but we're going to meet probably this month to talk about us collaborating with them to help with some signage and get a sort of a focused area on the downtown in their walking tour. So kind of excited about that because that's something we had talked about and wanted to. Hello. Good to see you. Oh, that's right. No problem. Yeah, I wasn't going to be. My name changed. We know who you are. Sorry. So yeah, I'm excited that we're gonna kind of move forward on that historical walking tour and then look at what other things we have for heading into summer for motions.
Possible
Ideas.
merchants walk around. If the chamber doesn't have that plan. I haven't checked with Bonnie. Is anyone familiar with that? Do you remember that? Yeah. I can only offer the opportunity. Whoever decides to send their new employees, interns, new managers, whatever they might have, would be a good event. Anything else on promotions? Amy, did you have anything? We were just talking about the possibility of the historical walking tour and that we were just kind of on a little bit of a rest since the Ice Fest.
Nope, I'm good.
Good.
Yep.
Downtown
That's
enhancement?
Okay, so we've had a couple
3rd Street.
developments on that. First, 3rd Street lights. I think if you remember we were having some repairs done on the 3rd Street lights. They came out, he came out to repair those lights. And at that time told me that we were going to need to replace the lights and that they were all, and I don't know, I talked to Tim this week to see, I think it's been 5 years. I don't know, Jody, if you can remember.
I actually talked to Kathy about it.
Okay, it's been 5 years. So apparently they said they had a lifespan of 5 to 7 years. We have made repairs to the lights every single year due to tree growth or squirrels or things like that. And they have ranged anywhere from about $800 to about $1,800 in repairs for those lights yearly. He sent me, so when we discussed it, I said, well, we're not replacing them this year. So do what you can to kind of get it repaired and up and going. And that was a $900 repair because he felt like doing more than that was throwing good money after bad. So he did make the repair and then sent me a quote for $15,000 to replace all the lights. He said they could be done in 2 phases. The problem is the LED lights are brighter than the current LED lights. And so you could do like half, like every other tree, he said, and then do another year to the other tree. My concern is we are going to be having the exact same problem. The trees aren't going to stop growing. The squirrels aren't going to stop eating those. We put several $1,000s into this project, you know, and continually put money into it yearly. To spend another $15,000 to replace them all, I mean, part of me would recommend looking at some more permanent solutions, you know, whether it's some sort of, and we talked about that in the downtown enhancement committee, you know, looking at maybe the weekly lights type of shepherd hook lights that are around somewhere. I know people like those lights, but in the summer, it's daylight till 10 p.m. And in the winter, you know, there's most of the businesses, we talked about in the downtown enhancement group committee that most of the businesses are closed by 5 p.m. So if we're looking for lights, I think there are maybe some options that we should investigate that aren't going to continually cost us yearly and then have to replace every 5 years.
Well, I think if you look at it from the standpoint of how much we initially invested.
And that was $34,000.
34,000, and you look at just a rough average of 1,000 a year for repairs. And then you add 15,000 to that. That means we've put over $10,000 a year into those lights on Third Street. Is there a recommendation from the downtown enhancement?
I think we thought
Amy?
we'd bring it here to have some discussion
Yeah,
about.
I just have a question. Yeah, they look cool, but does anybody find it, and I think it's interesting that Third Street is getting lit, but Main Street is not all the time.
Well, I've talked.
So I was wondering about what, and I was not involved when this was created, so I'm just wondering the justification. Why that street's getting featured when you're when you're Main Street.
I can answer that a
It's
little
not.
bit.
Great.
So when I've talked to Lucas with DPW quite a bit, and I believe his recommendation when they were putting the lights in 5 years ago was that this was gonna happen similarly, like the trees were gonna grow and there were gonna be, a lot of maintenance issues with animals and things like that. And that is why DPW does not want to wrap the trees year round on Main Street because they don't want to incur more cost. He said it would be very expensive to just have an ongoing project. My understanding is that the Third Street lights were, it was a project that the Third Street really wanted and that those people really wanted. We went back, I think it was 2 years ago and turned them off, during the off the holiday season. And then people on Third Street asked that they be kept on year round. So that's kind of where we're at, why they're on year round and not taken down. Because I think kind of talking to DPW, we could take them down and wrap several of the trees just like we do at Christmas, at the holiday time. And, the electric is running there now. It's, we have the electric boxes at each tree. We could go in and do that. Lucas said, you could wrap each tree just at the holiday time, turn them all on during the holiday season for that. So that's an option, but I don't think they want to deal with the hassle of it being on Main Street.
And Third Street has no other lights, is that correct? Like,
Well,
No, they do.
Gail
They
Lane.
do. I went and counted them.
okay, I was gonna say, that would be the other comparison I have.
Yeah.
I lived there. There's lights. I had no idea. So I think there's 5
And
street
the
lights.
traditionals, like a.
Well, there's 4 traditional and one that is, what is that little street that goes one way? I can't think of the name now, sorry.
Spring.
Spring.
By the library.
It's in the right middle, in the intersection. So it hangs down.
Oh.
So, but just looking at that distance where the lights are wrapped around the trees, we have 5 lights. I walk from State back. So, and most of that, there's a few businesses there, a lot of rental properties in that area, so.
So when you said, Margot, that they asked to have them turned on, was that mostly businesses or residents?
It was, I think, mostly a couple businesses.
I know 2 businesses for sure.
Yeah.
Who wanted it.
Are these businesses open past 5 PM?
One is not.
I know, I'm just,
Neither one is.
okay.
And I don't know the history. Jody or Matt, you guys would have the history longer of, what thinking was when the DDA put the lights on the trees initially, obviously it was hopefully bringing, traffic back to that area, I think. And then, I don't know why they, the year round, I think that should be because they preferred that. I don't really know that.
Kathy, can you give us any, I remember very little about it. Oh, hello, Kathy.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can you give us any history on the lights on Third Street and how they ended up that way and there?
It was a project of I think the Downtown Enhancement Committee to provide some continuity between Third and Main and highlight both streets as part of the CBD. So Tim was a spearheader of this. He worked with many of the businesses on Third to make it happen. At the time, we were deep into the hope of some kind of project downtown for the trees that and the tree beds that would include some kind of permanent lighting. And that's why Third Street went solo, because we were not yet ready on Main Street to proceed. And we have not gotten any further on that.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Tim did share, and I'm gonna just read off your phone because
That's fine.
I should pull it all up and an email that said, this is from Tim. He said, greetings. I have a meeting today at 8:30, but wanted to give you the information. We tried for 3 years to get lights on Third Street. The community continues to give great feedback about the lights. We were told by Tom Plagic, who put them up, that they would need to be replaced in about 5 years. He put them up in September 28, 2017. Alex Brogan, who I now deal with, is now the business now because Tom passed away. If the city would put permanent lights up on Main as well as the money saved, could pay for both streets. I hope this helps. I have spoken with Lucas even this week, and I know that he does not think I know he as DPW would not at all recommend putting up on Main Street year round. Given the cost, I know we have right now, we have the conduit that runs only from the traffic lights, or not the traffic lights, the street lights. So we do have to run the overhead electric from the top. And, which is what they do during the winter. The same thing would have to be done unless we went and did a same infrastructure project of running conduit down on the sidewalk level. And again, after talking to Lucas, he just thinks it would be really costly and require a lot of maintenance that they're not really wanting to.
So I think we have, a fiduciary responsibility here to look at this and just say, is it, or the word kind of frivolous per se, to pursue all new lights down there and then be in the same place 5 years from now. We have a lot of other projects that have and will cost us more. The Merchants Walkway. Is there a recommendation at all from the majority from the downtown enhancement that
I would say that probably agreed that financially it didn't seem.
not
the
just
best
financially for the DDA, but I think financially for the city,
Right.
because the city, and I really don't know on LED lights, like how much it costs us in electricity. to
It
have
doesn't,
that. Doesn't-
I think we as the DDA pay $40 a month,
Oh,
run the
okay.
lights, so it's
Okay.
that's very minimal.
Okay,
But as far as the ongoing cost, that's the bigger issue. And then obviously, are we gonna be doing this again, which sounds like we are, in 5 years?
So the fiduciary responsibility really is to provide lighting to that area. So is it permanent lighting and adding to the 5 that are already there? Is that the long-term plan to build this in? If they're part of the footprint, then that should be what we're striving for. Would that be,
should we look down,
that's what we should be looking at.
Is
not-
it our responsibility, yes, in the CBD to be looking at other streets that perhaps also need to be lit up?
Yes, the whole place,
Right.
I remember the whole footprint, yeah.
And that's, even looking down, where's First Community around, is that Spring also?
Yes.
Down that area where people walk. When you drove down there, or walked down there, did you feel like it was really underlit?
Well, as I sit here, I went down during the day,
Oh, okay, yeah. So no, it was quite lit.
but it's. Just like you. No, but I will this evening.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
if you wouldn't
to
mind.
see if, are they even on? I mean, we walk our dog. So I don't know if, if some of them are even lit anymore, you know, I don't know if they have bulbs in them. I can't tell you I know any of that, but I'll check tonight.
So we've had the repair done. Is there a remote guarantee that they're gonna last through the summer? And what do we do if,
I think there may still be, even after the repair at this point, one or two out right now. That you didn't.
How about you draft up a letter for all the people on Third Street and explain to them that we don't want to do this anymore, and if they want to do it, they can contract it themselves if they're hell bent on having lights back there. And I think it's probably better that we look at a long-term lighting program for the city or for the downtown than screwing around with these twinkle lights, because it's a, you know, huge expense for us.
and to
And
keep
you don't have to-
consistency, you know, when we built the side deck years ago at the pier, we did the shepherd lights to match what the city had, and we also matched the benches that we have out there. I think that, Lucas was just a small conversation with him. He was all in favor of shepherd lights in the sense that they're, you know, very easy to repair and maintain.
And they just manufacture them pretty, when there's somebody I think that we use that
Squire makes them for the city.
whenever we need a new one, they just manufacture a new one.
Yeah, it's just pipe.
Any idea how much they want?
I asked them up at Squires, and I think they're spent $1,000 a piece. Is my recollection of how much they are, but
Well,
And
so
that
the
was
ones
a
that
few years
currently
ago.
have, how much repair has been needed on?
yeah,
Painting, they've
Yeah,
been
paint.
painted.
Okay.
and you could get them powder coated now. There's that powder coating operation that will
So
last a lot longer.
the ones you repaired. So how many are there total of the canopies?
I think there's 10.
10, and there's two that there will still be two that will be out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already spent 900 on it. And I think those two, if they're not working now, they either were repaired and have already been having an issue, or those were ones he didn't feel that it was even worth repairing because they needed to be fully replaced.
So how silly is it gonna look to have 2 out and 8 working? I'm just from, and where are they? Are they
It really
together?
depends on which ones they are.
Yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
guess that's true.
Every other tree.
But I think it's a,
But if it's the first two, then.
Yeah,
but I-
no one will know.
Rocky?
I was just gonna recommend a feasibility study instead of being all over the place, kind of narrow the field. And we should look at hard wiring compared to solar. I mean, they've come a long way with solar lights as well. That are cheap, easy to replace. But what you do is you get the product, you go through the submittal process and you look at the warranty, how it's made. So you have to do a little engineering in terms of choosing a product that will last. Put it on a map and kind of organize it. And have a platform to move forward with it for the future. But I think we gotta have a study and narrow the field. It's just like, it seems like it's all over the place.
I'm
I'm
happy
not
to
sure,
start.
do we want to delve into a study at this moment? I mean, it's not like we really have $100,000 set aside for lighting,
Right.
you know?
And I'm happy to have a conversation with Dan Huey, the head of the electric. I mean, obviously we have the conduit running down. We have junction boxes at each tree. I mean, I can talk to him about what it would take, to look into a more permanent lighting, to add more permanent lighting, solution to that street. And just even see what are we looking at $100,000? Are we looking at $15,000?
I'm gonna go out on a limb, no pun intended, or pun intended, to recommend that the lights come down before I think that if if we're gonna run into trouble in the middle of summer and we're gonna have something replaced again, or half of them go out, and then it just looks like a I have, you know what, job. And so we either spend the 15,000 and over 1,000, 2,000 every year and keep it going, but it doesn't seem like, you know, we're the ones to make this decision. And I agree with Matt. I think just a letter that says, you know, sorry, but this is how much it costs. And so the reality of it is it's $10,000 a year to have lights on 10 trees on a side street. I know that sounds rough, but
And they can always, you know, if they really want lights that bad, they can pay for it. Or continue to pay for the maintenance. Keeping them.
Yeah, that
up
we're
and
looking
running.
at more permanent options.
Yeah.
yes,
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, gotta make sure we say that.
Yeah, I would encourage you to make sure that you say that the long term is to have more permanent lighting, if that's what you're gonna do,
yeah,
because that may smooth the feathers a little bit, because there will be some ruffled feathers, which there always are. But we know how hard this was fought for. And I know of a few people who were really adamant that they wanted them and liked them, so. But I think long term is really smart.
but is it safe to say that those that would like them to stay there are a few? Compared to what we could do with
Probably.
another $15,000 to
Probably.
do something different is
Yeah.
where to put your money, our money.
Do we take them down for the season?
Well, if those say they really want them, then it might be better. I mean, they could take on the responsibility then versus, like, if some of the trees are just fine for the summer and they really want to keep them, then you could put it on them to fix.
It's minimal cost, obviously, to keep
Right,
it
I mean,
going.
I don't want to take them down and then they have to just
Re-put
Right.
it back up.
put them back up.
Right.
Because some of them are working, obviously, some of them are not working, but
That seems,
So the lights are on right now?
well, in the evening.
They're not on right, thanks.
I'll take some
Literal.
pictures tonight.
You know what,
I will
Gail, that
take
would be
some
great,
pictures.
and then,
Sit out there under the trees.
Maybe gin and tonic, you know.
yeah. With your parasol. Could we make a motion or do we have to make a motion? Yes, we would have to make a motion. To take a look at the pictures when Gail can send them to the full board. And I guess my recommendation would be if there's two in the middle and they look jankety, that we remove the lights.
Well, we don't have to act on it today. I mean, we can postpone to the next meeting.
Yes.
We're not going anywhere.
We are getting into May though, but at the next meeting, I just don't know if.
Why don't we have Gail look at the lights, send us some pictures, which I'm happy to send around to the board. We look at them and then at the next meeting, make a motion as to whether I think the board seems that they're in the same thinking that we would like to relinquish this responsibility, but make that motion and determine what's happening with the lights being on or off at the next meeting. Does that work?
And I guess, not to put pressure on you, but between now and then, probably a letter fashion that kind of stated what we all talked about today. We are looking at alternatives. And that would be
send out a letter.
after we get the
Right.
pictures and,
Yeah, I wouldn't send out a letter until the board makes a motion to actually relinquish the responsibility.
well, don't we want to ask them if they want to take on the responsibility? Before we would make that motion? And
I think the decision that they're gonna make once we.
I wouldn't give them a heads up on it, because
Ask.
they'll be complaining.
Want to ask a question, unless you want to hear the answer.
Right.
Right.
And if I may,
yes,
sounds like you would, I would think the idea is good to study the long term for consistency and all that. But aren't you really talking about two different types of lighting? The street lighting
Yes,
and, that's one thing. It's like safety and look and appeal. The other's decorative. Those are two, in my mind, really different. There's no easy way to do twinkle lights that are gonna survive UV and squirrels. It's just not gonna happen. I do it every year with Christmas lights.
And the winter.
There's no way,
Right.
there's just no way around it.
Right.
There are other ways to do decorative lighting that requires, as Rocky said, you know, a little more thought. But there's two very different things here in my mind. Street lighting consistent with the city and then decorative. You're talking about Third Street maybe taking on maintenance of their decorative lighting. I think it's important to differentiate. I would
That's
refer to
true.
it as lighting in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a mess.
Excellent.
So I guess maybe it would behoove, I'm thinking, you know, we could all drive down there. We can all drive down there at some point and see from a safety issue. Obviously, there are 5 lights there that light up.
And I only say bring that up about the permanent lighting particularly because I think that was what drove the initial thing, and I could be wrong, of what drove the project of getting those trees lit was because people on Third Street wanted more light, and that's why, I don't know if it was specifically that people on Third Street wanted tree lights and twinkle lights, or if they wanted just more light to draw more traffic back that direction.
If I do remember correctly, then I think back then that Rachel, as the DDA director, and the rest of the board were looking at if this were to work on Third Street to move those down into Main Street as well and keep them year round. And so I think just from a repair standpoint, we know where we sit with that and how much it would cost Main Street
Yeah, absolutely.
to have that done. Okay, so we table it until we see some pictures and go from there. Any other comments on that situation? Merchants Walkway.
Okay. Also discussed at the Downtown Enhancement Committee. The committee met to discuss moving forward with the Merchants Walkway with the revised plan. I'm working with Vanessa Warren on revising the design. She still has not gotten me that. She has just so far, just for awareness, we've been billed $900 for her work so far, which I think she and I agreed that ultimately it'd be by $1,500. So that's the first half. She is working on that revised plan. In the committee, we decided that we would go ahead and maybe work on moving some of the overgrowth and the landscaping and everything that's there and the brush and how bad. We even had people, DDA members volunteer and say, we'll go down there. We knew though that there's some bigger trees and that needed to be cut down, maybe not the stumps removed because there were so many utilities. DPW and the city, I spoke with Victor and Lucas and they were both willing to do that, you know, if that was the way the DDA wanted to go forward. I met with Wendy Reeves, whose husband is Pierre Bitar, who owns most of that property where that garden is. And she did not want the city to remove any of the landscaping. She said they were willing to do the removal and planting of landscaping themselves, but did not want the DDA or the city to do any of that. That said, we do have a landscape license, but it's not a road that I would recommend going down. If she's already expressed that they want to do it themselves. That will pose a little bit of an issue as far as the design, because that area does butt up to it. Where we've left it is I have talked to Benchmark. They are marking the line either with paint or stakes to determine which is exactly Pierre Bitar's, lot line, also the Nolan Smith's lot line, and then Coldwell Banker's, where all of that landscaping is. Once we have that determined, then Wendy Reeves and Pierre Bitar are able to do the landscaping in their area, and we are able to get permission. Coldwell Banker has said they would give us a license to do the landscaping there. I will be in touch with the Nolan Smith family to see, whether they're okay with us just removing landscaping or putting it in. the last I had heard from them, they did not want us to do anything without their express permission, either in any direction. So that's kind of where we stand as far as the Merchants Walkway. I'm hoping that we're gonna have a design soon that we can share with the whole group. And again, that the design is based on the elements that were talked about and agreed upon, or at least discussed in that Merchants Walkway committee that we held with, which was John Neal was a part of it, DDA members, and then and some of the stakeholders that own property back there, the Nolans and Andrew Shorefar. So we are going to move forward. Hopefully, I think it may be moving forward yet again, slower than we had hoped.
So do we have a landscape easement with everyone involved in that area?
No, we only have a landscape license with Pierre Batars. And then Coldwell Banker's property is willing to do that because it's very confusing when you go back there, because it is just a big garden. It was all planted together. That was the original, intent of the DDA when in the 80s, when they built the Merchants Walkway and put the gardens in, was that it was going to be a one cohesive plan. But now that not everyone wants to participate in that plan, it may be a little bit more disjointed. We're also having them look at right now, the pedestrian walkway in front, behind Graham and behind Pierre Batars. That is an easement that is the Pierre Batars. At this point, that walkway is completely crumbling, and not because of us removing anything. After this winter, it's completely crumbling. I have pictures and I've been out there. There's been people driving on it. We need to determine what we want to do, but that's also going to involve a conversation. If Wendy Reeves and Pierre Battar are not wanting the city to maintain that walkway, then at all, that they're what we're going to need to have them do that, because it is now deteriorated so much that it's not really safe.
So what can we do between? I mean, we are in April, 2 months from now is gonna be June. That was brilliant. Well, Did we close it off like we closed off the boardwalk?
Well, we have money, because if you remember that we have money that we budgeted for the Merchants Walkway, for that phase 1 that we want to do. We also have money to repair that sidewalk, because if you remember in our development plan, we allotted $12,000 yearly to the sidewalks in the downtown. Lucas, I have a quote. There's one area in front of College on Main. Lucas is getting bids right now for that sidewalk repair, but so far those are under $3,000. About $2,700 for that location, which leaves us with like $10,000 we could, that we can use to repair that Spring Street walkway. We have the money to do it. We can get the quote. I just don't know whether the parties involved are going to want us to do it.
But in that specific area, are the parties involved in the landscape?
That's a
easement?
pedestrian easement, not a landscape easement. And we do have a pedestrian easement to maintain, and that's what's been happened all these years, these last 40 years, is the city has gone in and repaired bricks or maintained it. Or obviously, I would not recommend putting bricks back in there. We've had 3 contractors tell us not to do that. And it's crumbling. This isn't anything of us, bringing it up. So we need to replace the walkway. Again, it's another conversation with Wendy Reeves and Pierre Battar if we want to go ahead, because it has to be fixed. It's now a liability for the city. And so we either have to fix it or they have to fix it.
But wait,
But do we know
I know, I'm a little confused.
what we want it to look like? Like if we're
Well,
trying to
that's
fix
what-
that,
We're waiting on Vanessa for that.
right, but I
But-
don't want to just fix it
Right.
and not know what the bigger picture looks like.
I would recommend that it fits, in line with the design, with the stamped concrete that we've all talked about, with the edging or something like that, the concrete with a stamped border.
But it is, if it's unsafe, And everybody that you've talked to is unwilling to let us do that. That if anybody falls in that area, we're gonna have a responsibility from the city standpoint.
We would have to just rope it off.
We did discuss some solutions in our meeting last time. So when you're looking at the surveys on a piece of paper, it's really not clear. You're assuming certain things to be where they're at, but they might not necessarily be where they're at. So the recommendation basically from the board when we met is to have actual physical stakes on these property marked. So there's a visual, you can tell where everything is at. You can't just assume based on a blueprint that everything is going to be accurate. You're going to go chop somebody's tree that might not necessarily be where it's supposed to. So the plan is to stake it out, walk it through, have everybody look at it, including the people that live there, invite them to come see. And what we want to do is to get this thing to move forward is maybe break it out in two phases. One is handle the pavement and then handle the landscaping and everything else. So you render it safe. But if the landscaping is holding the pavement up, then you're arguing for another 6 months and nothing is being done. So we have to look at it physically first, see where all the stakes are, the boundaries, and come up with the solutions with the people that live there.
But we've already been doing that for like 4 to 6 months.
We don't have any physical stakes on site.
No. But we've
Stakes in
been,
the ground can be very motivating.
but we have. but
And
we
that should
have
be
been-
happening this weekend.
I happen soon, we get down there and then we have a conversation about the walkway. So,
Because people are assuming they own a certain piece of property and we're assuming we aren't, we have easements and it's all assumptions. You gotta have the.
It's not assumptions. I mean, we've had the survey done and it's been recorded with the county. We know what our easements are and that have been there. As far as what the lot lines is, as those just need to be marked clearly and benchmarked. I've spoken with Joe and he's supposed to be doing that this week. I have gotten permission from Wendy that benchmarks people can come onto her property and mark the lines. So that's being handled. As far as they're kind of two separate things, the landscaping and then this new issue with the walkway. And it just happens that it's the same people that are involved that makes, so we have to figure out, how we want to move forward. Absolutely, I would recommend we start getting quotes on that walkway to get that part repaired for sure, as we're going, as we're starting to get quotes for the greater part, we have to add that on now.
Yeah, I think there was one more thing we talked about, which was the grade, to shoot grade to see which way the water is going to flow. Because if you can't catch it on that one catch basin on Nolan's property, we might have to install one in the center and flow everything to it. But again, if we don't have grade points to see which way the water is going to go, it's, the design is not going to help you. You're going to end up with the same issues as before. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it's worth slowing things down and doing your due diligence so you can save that money and a headache in the future. And I think going through the survey as we recommended, making some physical points so people can actually visualize where the properties are at, instead of assuming it's on a piece of paper and it's bigger or larger or smaller. So that's going to help. And then I think you said something about that benchmark was going to shoot grade, but I don't remember when.
Yeah, and I need to talk to Joe about adding that, adding that one there.
And that would be helpful if we have that in the survey, physical survey done, and then we do the walkthrough. I think that's going to clear up a lot of.
They had initially, when I spoke with Vanessa, her initial design was to capture the water coming off the downspouts from one side and running them underground, to the storm drain that was there. And along with if necessary, a catch basin going along the Nolan's property to run the water that way. Obviously, if there's another solution or a better solution, we can look at that as well. But that's what she had been planning to design into her design.
And are we designing this ADA compliant?
Well, we'd have to.
Well, this is why you need to know what the grade is, because it can only be 2% pitch.
I don't think
So-
anybody's saying we shouldn't look at a grade.
No, I'm just saying that we need to have that information to move ahead. Because if we don't have the grade shot, whatever we design might not work.
Don't you think anybody that we would probably hire to to do that work?
And
Look
Vanessa's
at
very
that.
knowledgeable. I mean,
Right.
she is designed for many, many cities and, and I think she just did
I guess
maybe the sewer St. Agnes.
I'm just a little confused by the fact that we brought this back to a board decision rather than asking the opinion again of the walkway subcommittee, if you will. I just think if we go some route where we keep asking everyone's opinion, we're gonna be talking in August about their opinions still. And once we get everything marked, if it's a safety issue, I mean, Matt, your opinion?
I guess I don't have an opinion.
It is a safety issue. I was
Yeah.
there yesterday
Mhm.
and those bricks are heaved out of the ground. And that is either, we need to make a decision. You don't want to repair it. You don't want to throw money on it if you don't even know what the plan is. I understand that. That makes sense, right? Throw more money on it. But it's going to need to be fixed short term or closed. I mean, those are the two.
Anything over a quarter of an inch is a trip hazard.
It is.
Oh, there's
that's the
bricks
bricks
are-
everywhere. I think
Yeah, they're just
might have a
heavy.
picture of it.
It sounds like we're not ready to do anything.
Right. Which
Till we get this.
Which means we,
Yeah, so we get the physical survey and the grade. I mean, those are really critical to, and I think once we have that, we can move faster.
Right. The easement, the sidewalk easement, does that allow us to do whatever we want with the sidewalks, or do we still have to monkey around with the property owners?
I mean, the easement that we've had, I can pull it up on that. And that's why I want to be careful because we have had a survey done and recorded. I mean, that is very, I don't know if I've got this. Oh, I don't have it in here. It gives us the right to, the easement does give us the right to maintain and all that, but when we're being expressly told not to do that, you know, which is the case with the landscaping, where we're being told by one of the parties that they don't want the city to do it, I'm just kind of unclear, and we may need to talk to the city attorney more as to what, you know, since it is a safety issue on our end or liability, but we're you know, but there, at this point, the last conversation that she and I had was that she didn't want the city to do anything, that she didn't want to accept any city money to do any project, to do anything that they would handle it. So we're kind of, until we get clearly.
but if they're going to handle it and we have the easement, what if they don't fix it to all these matters we've talked about?
Well, this is a new issue. I mean, this was the landscaping was where we left it. She and I have not talked about the walkway yet. I mean, in my opinion, you would want, I mean, the city to come in and pay for all of that on that pedestrian walkway, you know, but.
If we have the easement, it's a safety issue. I don't understand why we have to keep asking permission from the people. I mean, I'm just.
No, you're correct. And I think that may be the case legally. It's just how we want to proceed with it. And I think we need to proceed carefully.
So has
Kathy,
there
have her
been?
hand raised.
Okay, Kathy has her hand raised.
She does?
I do, I'm being polite this morning. I think
Oh.
part of the issue for the spinning on how to proceed is the lack of the plan from Vanessa. So if we could get that pronto, that would answer a lot of questions as to Rocky's concerns about the grading and what this might look like. If phase one of this is just going to be the repair of that area, we need to know what Vanessa thinks it looks like, so we can even go to the adjacent homeowners and say, this is what it's going to look like, and we need to get this fixed pronto. Until we get that plan from Vanessa, it's really hard to proceed. Yes, it needs to be fixed pronto. Do we want to have it blocked off? Well, if we have to, we do, but I don't think that's necessary. I think we can get a plan from Vanessa quicker.
Well, I mean, I guess my concern would be, what if somebody in the interim of us not getting the plan trips and falls in that area?
Well, I would think we need to get that plan in the next week or two. It's time. It's spring.
Lucas went down and put cones at the
Oh, okay.
at the entrance. So, well, and I actually just moved it to deal with, and now I don't know whether somebody is driving back there to a parking spot. So I don't know if they're going to move the cone out of the way. I mean, if that's possible. But that's kind of where we stand, and I will.
Sarah, you parking back there?
We could put a sign that says area to be under construction. Proceed cautiously, something to that effect. Plans are in the works, just a little, to redesign this location. And put the cones up, and you've done your due diligence to try to keep it safe. If you don't feel like it's safe for you to walk through here, please go around it.
So, Rocky, maybe you can give us a little more in-depth. I understand that you met with Wendy
Correct.
and,
With the board's permission, just to let you know, it was not, we don't want anybody communicating with anyone without the knowledge of the board, so.
you mean
The committee,
the enhancement?
correct.
The enhancement committee knew he was going to have a meeting following our meeting.
Okay, so how did that go?
I think it went pretty well. What we needed from her was authorization to access her property for the survey, and we did get that. And again, she agreed that looking at a piece of paper not necessarily is gonna indicate exactly where she might know she's not, savvy in that area. And physical boundaries will help tremendously in coming to a decision as to what needs to be done. And inviting them to come back, once we have that, to look at it physically and have a discussion. I think they were all willing to do that. And they all thought, that would be a good idea to move forward.
So does Benchmark know that we want
Oh, yeah.
that's gonna
It should be
happen?
happening this week. He and I.
Okay.
They're going to be, I'm sorry, they're going to be planning stakes this week.
Or painting the line, yeah. He and I talked last week, and we were waiting just on permission from Wendy to be back there.
So do cones cover us from a safety standpoint?
I agree with Rocky. Put up a sign saying, danger, caution, under construction, under repair.
I mean, I have the credentials for it. I'm an OSHA instructor for the state of Michigan, so that's what we do. Areas under construction, when it's under construction, it has a little bit more leeway in terms of liability, that it's under construction. You can require certain things for people to enter that location, and you just put it on that piece of paper and post it. You have to have the signage on site.
Sounds like a plan. I don't know if we have those signs, so where would we, I don't know if DPW, like we had taped it,
I might have
but this,
some
but this is
that
an
says
open
caution.
area,
Yeah.
the end is open, so it's not, we can't put up caution tape, is what I'm saying, there's nothing to tape it to. So
Well, I mean, we can guide them through a certain location. You can't.
so if you have signs, that would be very helpful.
And I do have signboards too that you can place. I'll grab them from the shop, and like I said, we can post it on there, and
That would be very helpful.
so.
Your sandwich words could get a new.
Yeah.
There you go. Sandwich
No.
boards.
Anything else on that? I guess we wait. RRC, I think we are just, we meet on Friday to discuss the joint committee, subcommittee. We'll meet on Friday just to go over speakers and what we expect and really to come up with some kind of a plan for a little bit of enticement of food and drink at the joint meeting.
We have reserved the hall for May
Yep.
25th, so we're just still working on the time.
And we were kind of, sort of thinking like a 4 to 6 or something
We're
like
gonna have
that, but
to
we're gonna have to.
adjust it because of the senior parade, that and Victor, that I know that he's got that to discuss with you
Oh,
on
yes.
Friday's meeting. I won't be there, I'll be out of town, but.
Oh, that's right, because Kyle filled us in on that one. That starts at 6.
Yes.
So we either do something like 7:30 or we do something like 3 to 5, which is gonna be rough. I know.
Yeah.
And but 7:30 on
Thursday.
going into Memorial Weekend. I mean, it's still light out. It's not like I think everybody's gonna change a little bit in their thinking that 7:30, we always have our pajamas on, but it's a different story now, with this. Go ahead, Bonnie.
We'll have to talk about that on Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll table it till Friday.
we will.
Okay.
But we hope that this will be we will make it a theme of unification between DDA, city, chamber,
Planning commission,
planning commission, all the powers that
those
be,
four, that's to be those four.
that we're all working together for the same. Kiosk, Ms. Gale.
What a great project.
Thank you again. Thank you again for your work on this.
Margot was gracious enough to send out the update, the newest, latest update. I didn't get any responses back. I don't know if you did. I had 2 yesterday that I'll add them to the list. So Anna Hid's old location, I'll call it Uptown,
Oh.
has been taken over by Trey Bell. So they just went through the wall, took her space. So there's nothing going in there. And then I talked to I went over to see Bonnie yesterday because they're working on, and to me, it was the old Mears restaurant next to the New York.
The t-shirt shop.
T-shirt shop,
Most
exactly.
recently known as.
I went in there to talk to the construction guys, and I think it was McGregor, and he said they are building it out for retail. They have no idea what's going in there or when. So they're working on the apartment upstairs. They're working on the space. So he said, there's nobody going in at this time, as far as they know. So that will be nothing.
You got anything, Matt?
It won't be done for a while.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about,
No,
okay,
nothing's going in this summer.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're,
Plumber.
Can I make a recommendation that the file is shared, not sent separately? Because I started to make changes and then realized, oh, then I have to download it, then I have to resend it to everybody.
There is a Google sheet that you've all been.
Right.
And you can make the changes there if you would like to do that.
Okay, I just didn't know whether I should make them on that one or the other document.
What
I think
I-
it all be shared. It's just
Yeah.
easier than to make sure your changes get in there. And maybe, I think maybe too, what's helpful is if you do something, do it in a different color so it stands out. Because I was trying to go through, it's like, well, I changed that. Well, I don't know that anybody noticed that I changed it. So
Yeah.
that I would just make that recommendation and then we do it in
So
color.
with me, I'm so used to very high-tech computer system from work. And I'm using my, I don't know what, old laptop that has limited capability. And so I just sent what I did to Margot, and she's the one that sends them out. 'cause
Yeah, if it could just be a Google Doc, then that just makes it a shared.
Let's get the woman a computer for crying out loud. What's the
Um,
deadline on this?
I'm gonna give her the edits this coming week, and she said that she will be, we had told her the 15th will be right around there. And she said that's totally fine. And then she'll be able to get it off to do the design, the edits, and then get them off to the printer. So we'll have it much sooner this year. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
It's
Gail.
a very tedious project. I know Kathy helped you some too. I
Kathy
think
did, yeah, she was very helpful.
It's a very, very tedious project, so.
I look at signs and I look at lighting.
And if you'd like, we could add a few more things, Gail. Let's see. Okay, moving on, Demus,
Yeah, so for the DDA, the update, the director's update, I have the finance, sorry. Just financial update. As you know, we did collect our tip and our assessment in the summer and in the winter, so those have not come in, you know, those haven't come in yet, so that's why we're looking at where we're standing. Really, again, only wage changes we have added in the Ice Fest. Our legal fees do continue to grow just because we are having to, you know, deal with things like the Merchants Walkway and other issues, and you know, so that will exceed what we had initially put down, you know, had, you know, budgeted. But other than that, we really don't have a whole lot of changes, kind of where we are.
Did all of Ice Fest invoices get paid?
Yes, yeah, I'm trying to think, yes,
Great.
yeah. Yeah, because it was really only a few members that we were waiting for, so. So that's all that's happening with the financial update. The May meeting, our next May meeting, will be our first public informational meeting for the taxing authorities and the public. Obviously, we don't have just crowds coming in to see that, but we'll just plan that beginning part of the meeting will cover that. Another thing is, I have been working with Jeff Grimm, the zoning administrator. He's working to revise the merchants licenses for all of the merchants. And so he's been talking with me about trying to get some of the input that maybe we as the DDA have. There were some suggestions that I added to his license application. I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts as far as what good information for the downtown should be included on that. Like I asked, I would like to know whether the people, when they're putting their application, whether they're renting or if they own their building in town, things like that. So he is making some changes, and we're doing that. What he is thinking is that if the DDA would then kind of head up resending out to asking all of the downtown businesses to redo their merchant's license at no fee. I mean, normally when you apply, there's a fee, but at no fee, just so we can get some current updated information, because there are businesses that have never, ever redone their merchant's license, and we don't have anything, you know, any information about those. So that's one thing that he and I are working on. And I think that once he's got that license out, I will send it out to the businesses to, you know, so that people could start, you know, letting us know and put in another application. Kind of in connection with that, I'm planning to send out a survey to all of the businesses to gauge their rental costs. I think that's a kind of a missing piece of information. We often have people call and say, I'm looking for space. What does it cost to, you know, have a business in Harbor Springs or, you know, rent a property? And so we really like to get some of that information from the businesses, you know, what they're renting at per square footage and some of that. So I am planning to do a survey for that. And the only other thing, which is kind of old business, but we need to move forward on to, is the Main Street tree gardens. I need to know if we're going to continue to plan to plant those this year and if we also want me to continue to reaching out to the National Honor Society to maintain. I think they're willing to. They're always looking for volunteer hours. And we just May 24th is the garden planting date for the city. So that's what, if we're planning to be doing the Main Street, I want to be making sure that I have all of the supplies ordered and the flowers ordered for that date as well.
what was our conversation after they were pulled out after summer? Didn't we talk about the fact that they didn't last very long?
I think they lasted quite a bit longer this year because we did a different flower. We didn't go with the petunias this year. We went with the begonias. And for the most part, while they get kind of scraggly and all that, more of the feedback that I get is positive of having them plant, as having gardens planted there versus not having something.
Should we set a date then? The March 24th? In conjunction with May 24th, in conjunction with the flower garden club?
And I can let the National Honor Society know, or you can tell us that that's our planned date of planting
I
and.
think we were talking about early May, but I can come back to them and talk about dates that we can do it on. Cause I know we were talking about that in our previous meetings and we were happy to do it. If you guys need that.
Great. Great.
That would be would that be the Thursday of
No, it's the Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday before
Memorial
Memorial
Weekend?
Day.
Margot, could you send out, because our next meeting will be kind of fairly close to that date. Within a couple weeks, could you send out a note to the full DDA about volunteering? Please.
I know we could do it earlier than May 24th. I know a lot of the NHS members are in physics and we will be gone for Michigan Adventure that day.
Okay, so that's good to know.
Okay.
So we might need to.
Well,
do-
it's just hard with this weather. Who knows when we're gonna have
Yeah.
another frost? It shouldn't plant before
We
Memorial
don't
Day.
have to do it the same day as.
No,
No, and I think that's, if they're all gonna be gone, then I would rather have them there.
We'd rather have the young strong
Yes.
guys there. Anything else, Margot? Bonnie, anything from the chamber?
Thank you. No, sorry, I'm late.
You have nothing from the chamber? Nothing to report?
Oh, not really. We moved our volunteer appreciation to later in the day, so we wouldn't conflict with that day, the planting day.
On the
So-
25th.
24th.
Yeah. That's part of why, although Matt also liked it. We're not doing a breakfast, we're doing a 4 to 6 happy hour.
I think I got a notice perhaps.
Yes, you
I
did,
wasn't-
you RSVP, yes. Just an FYI there, sister. But anyway, let's see, no, we're just coming together with the summer, lots of stuff I need to get to the city to approve that we want to do this summer. Adding an additional Friday, an additional Sunday, just more, which is great.
Under old business from our last meeting, is there anything new on the snow removal, management of that? No, okay. Anybody have anything else? Public comment again? Or board comments again? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. We paid no attention to you.
I know, I don't count those meetings, that'd be good, I like that.